whenever I, in my youth, found something that I could call my own, something that I could excel in, something that I believed in, someone bigger than me who didn't understand how much I enjoyed what I was doing took it from me.
Yeah.
It was an undercurrent. Why make something bigger when someone's going to take it from you? Why excel when somebody's going to take it away?
Empower You podcast is devoted to bringing real-world wisdom and encouragement to our listeners. We discuss a multitude of life principles and the process from an economic, cultural, and societal perspective. We believe that through tough conversations and shared wisdom, we can pave the path and leave a ladder for the future. Subscribe to our channel and let us empower you. Welcome to Empower You podcast. My name is Kidboy Cooper, and I am your host. Thank you all so much for being here. Right. And I'm joined today by none other than the guy, Semaj.
Stop.
Semaj is an energy worker, and I'm going to let him tell you a little bit more about that. But we're really happy to have him here. He is an incredibly gifted individual, and his perspective on things is just absolutely phenomenal and life-changing. His approach to energy and how we interact with life and how life affects us, how we allow life to affect us. And I'm just so glad you're here to talk to us about this. We're going to be talking today about burying the dead and healing. And I think that is so important that we learn how to let go of things that are no longer serving us. And so when I thought about this topic, I was like, oh man, we got to get Semaj in here to talk to us about this.
Yeah, that's deep.
So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, and we'll get into it, man.
Right on. Well, I am Semaj Crawford. That's my new name. A lot of people around town used to know me as JC, and a lot of people know my dad from the city. He was Semaj Crawford, a police officer here in town, and the family has a history here. You know, my brother, he travels around, does music here in town, but I've kind of always been the enigma of the family, right?
Oh, okay.
So I was the one, when big as I am, when I went to school, everybody said, oh, you should play football. And what I wanted to do was entertain. I wanted to be a dancer. I wanted, and it was like, there was just something, my rhythm was just always different.
Yeah.
Right. And so, life has led me into this journey of holistic healing.
Okay.
Energy healing. I don't know. It's a gift, I had to go to China, and you mentioned something about being on a path, and I ended up on this path literally in a place that doesn't even exist anymore.
Oh,
right.
Wow.
And Kowloon in China, a little man, came out and was like, I will teach you this. And that was 40 something years ago, man. And
wow.
So he lays this gift on me, and now I'm just at the point, 40 something years later, where it's like I can't die with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been revealed to me that anybody can do what I do.
Yeah.
They just have to learn.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my goal right now is to teach people to heal people, and especially after all this COVID stuff going on,
Okay.
people have forgotten the power of the touch. And so that's, we're so distanced from each other, and,
Right.
and it's like, we have to learn a new way. So I'm the guy to teach it.
So explain in some very, simple terms, because
Yeah.
you had to explain certain things to me, especially when I first met you, because I didn't really understand a lot of what you were talking about. But how would you explain energy work? How would you explain holistic healing? People say these different things, but
Right.
I mean, I don't feel like anybody really breaks that down into what it means. So, as far as you understand, and this being your expertise, can you describe to me and to the audience, obviously,
Right.
what is energy work? What is holistic healing? Is this just a fad? Is this something we should really care about?
Holistic is a word, but in the sense of it kind of gives you a boundary of what genre of healing you're looking at.
Okay.
When we speak holistically, we're talking hopefully without a whole bunch of medication. Hopefully, when we speak holistically, we're speaking and holistically with a W. Okay.
Yeah.
Holistic in the sense that whatever we do, we're doing it for the whole body.
Right.
The entire body will benefit from whatever it is that you're doing. My approach to healing in a W holistic way is that there's not one part of the body that can't be in trauma without the rest of the body suffering from it.
Okay.
At one way or another.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, when we talk about, the eye can exist and be in pain, but it's still part of that body.
Yeah.
And so holistically, I treat the whole body when I do my work.
Okay.
Energy is a word that, has, what's the word? It's morphed over the years, right? Because you say energy work 20 years ago, and it's like, woo, people, you're a woo-woo guy.
Right.
Woo-woo. And now people are understanding energy exists. Energy is what we are. And scientists and people have been saying it for years and years, but people are starting to understand that everything around you affects you.
Right.
All right. And, we say it now, in terms like, I'm not giving her any of my energy. Okay. You just said it. What does that mean?
Right.
When you say you're not giving somebody your energy, that means you're not investing the power that you have running through your body.
Right.
And we all feel people's energy. You ever walk past a person?
Oh yeah.
And go, whoa, what's wrong with them? You don't know them.
Yeah.
You didn't see them, but you felt them. What was that? That's energy. We all have it. It runs through us. It flows out of us. And we, that's how we interact.
Right. And that can manifest as like a bad attitude or a very optimistic attitude, or being very helpful or very happy or very sad. These are different manifestations of the kind of energy that you have.
Oh, yeah.
Working in you.
Any kind of way. In any kind, it's all energy. Right? It's like, turn off the light and what do you see?
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like energy. That's all it is.
Okay. Huh. Well, I know, when I was coming up, I know my mom used to always say, and even still in my home and, with my family and stuff, we used to always say somebody had like a bad spirit or a bad, they've got a bad feeling, or they had a sense of discernment about somebody.
Right.
And how they acted or behaved. And
right.
I always thought that was very, very interesting.
Right.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
when I think of energy, I think of it as a manifestation of that, a certain type of that,
Right. Right.
or a different language for that same exact
For the exact
thing.
same thing, and for me, for anybody, it's a matter of verbiage.
Yeah.
You'll call it something, you'll call it chi, in China, you call it your chakras, somewhere else. And it's all to say that it's energy.
Yeah.
It's what flows through us, and it doesn't go unnoticed by other people, and in my work, it's more about the person,
Right.
because what you do with your energy is your choice.
Right.
And so, and everybody walks around looking for other people to blame for stuff that's going on with them.
Right.
And a lot of what happens in your body is produced and manifested by the energy you give it in your mind.
Okay. So someone comes to you with anxiety or some energy that is not constructive. They come to you for help. What do you do?
I do what we're doing.
Okay.
First, we talk.
Okay.
And my gift, okay, and everybody has it, and just like anything else, some people develop it more. But my gift is I can feel people, right? Discern, if you will. I feel people's energy from like 3 blocks away. People come before me, and they'll sit down and they'll tell me, this is wrong with me. This is wrong with me. This is happening in my life. I'm having anxiety. I'm feeling this. And there is a core. There's a core structure in them that's the core of their dysfunction.
Yeah. There's a root there. There's somewhere.
A root, right. And so, as I'm watching and, seeing what's going on with them energetically, and listening to them, and that we speak so much of our pain into our bodies and we don't realize it. Okay. Words are a very, very strong energy. All right. We say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's false. Words will destroy a person. Okay, you take a kid, right, and you tell that kid when they're doing their best, you're stupid. You've destroyed that child with your words. The energy of that word broke them, put in their mind, because at that point, they're looking for you to help them have an identity. Yeah. And the identity that you just cursed them with is that you're stupid.
Even when you're doing your best.
Is that energy? That's energy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What does it feel like energetically when someone says, I don't love you? Me saying that to you right now, your body has a reaction.
Right.
All right. There's an instant reaction that goes, well, why would you say that? And you go, oh, demonstration.
Right.
All right. So you have like this instant thing and go like, whoa, that's energy. That's what I do when people come. I have to see past what they think is going on. Okay. Sometimes sometimes they have legitimate reasons for feeling how they're feeling. Now, in my book, I put it down. There's 3 things, right, that cause pain in the body, right? The number one thing that causes pain in the body is drama. All right?
Right. Just life stuff.
The life stuff
that is out of control.
Right. The second one is trauma. If you got hit by a car, your arm's supposed to hurt. Your leg's supposed to hurt, right? And the third thing that that we don't take into account is divine manifestation. All right. Just like Paul had pain in the side.
Yeah.
Right. That was a divine manifestation. When you haven't slept for 3 days because you grinding so hard, and God said, boy, you got to slow down. And all of a sudden you get a pain you ain't never had in your life. And it stops you for 2 or 3 days, and then it's gone. Right? So those are the 3 things that cause pain in the body. And, you know, the rule with that is if it comes from nowhere, it can go back to nowhere.
Yeah, once you figure out what the root cause is.
Once you figure out what the root cause is. So,
wow.
So, you know, there's a whole lot going on, you know, in the introduction aspect. And, you know, just like you were saying, you know, like I didn't know what you were talking about at first. Nobody knows what I'm talking about at first.
Right.
But I also have to do at the same time I'm listening to this person and I take seriously what they're saying. You know, I also have to be able to let them understand that I'm not grandma's massage. I'm not grandma's therapy. I'm going to come from a whole different direction because I believe from a whole different direction.
Right.
And so, you know, I'm still working. So I guess things are working.
Right. Clearly. Clearly.
Right?
You said, so you mentioned your book. Do you recommend this to your clients? Because, you know, they'll come in, they'll talk to you, and then you all will either do a massage or just a life coaching session?
Most of the time, people when they come to me, they come for a massage and they end up getting a coaching session too.
Right.
You know, I do this version of what I call tabletop coaching. You know, once they're on the table and they start to feel this energy exchange, this transference of energy, there's an easier understanding because I walk them through feeling the energy move through their body. Okay. And once they understand the experience. Okay. You can tell a person about anything all day long and they can either believe it or not believe it.
Right.
Right. But once a person has an experience, there's only a couple choices they have. Then they go, oh, I did experience it. It's true.
Right.
Right. Or they can be in denial and go, I experienced it, but I don't understand it. And I don't have a expectation of anybody coming back and seeing me a second time.
Yeah.
You know, for 2 reasons. One, I heal them. I don't heal them, but they get healed.
Yeah.
Or 2, it was just too much for their brain to take and they don't come back and they can't express that, you know, I don't know what happened, so I'm not coming. People are funny. Right. Yeah. And so, you know, I don't have that expectation, but I give everybody the experience.
Yeah.
Because 20 years down the road, at least they know I went and saw this dude and I was hurting. And when I was done, I wasn't.
Yeah.
But it was just too different, you know, and that's how we do different things. We just judge it and then leave it alone just because we don't understand it.
Yeah.
Instead of looking in and trying to find out truth.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I know a few years ago I read your book and first of all, I loved it. If you guys have not picked up the C word, you definitely need to check it out. It was very, very, very insightful. It helped me out a lot.
Thank you.
Because of that book, you know, I just started to look at things a little bit differently. And that just led me down other paths that I believe, you know, have really helped me develop in some really crucial ways. Yeah. So highly recommend the book. And Semaj, if you're looking for any type of work at all, as you can see, he's got all the answers. So listen, let's get into this topic because
man.
we can sit here and jive all
that
day,
tripped
man.
me out. Yeah, that's a good topic.
So what we're talking about today is burying the dead and healing yourself. So what's the first thing you think of when you think about burying the dead? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, man. I when you sent me that topic, I was like, whoa, that's deep, and I had to really sit and think about it, and of course, I did a little research, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And it's like burying the dead is it's not something we even had to learn. 130,000 years ago, they have found proof that people were being buried after they were dead for all different kind of reasons, right? Some were to put spirits closer to where they would be, in the afterlife. Some were to bury people so their disease wouldn't come out of the ground, and affect people, and everybody has had their own perspectives on burying the dead. But to me, burying the dead kind of puts the period on that life, right? And as far as personal death, right? When they're buried, it's like that there's like a closure, and in crime cases, everybody wants, with a missing person, it's like, is my child alive or is my child dead? And if my child is dead, I want to bury them.
Yeah.
To put the period closure and get that closure on that life. But in a personal state, I think burying the dead is putting the past right where it's supposed to be. All right. It's something that once it's buried, it's not supposed to be uncovered and revisited.
Yeah.
All right. And it's a huge dynamic in healing is that closure and that burying of the past. People can't do it. And that's the it's the hardest thing for people to do.
That's very interesting you say that. I think we become so attached to our former selves or whatever it is that we may need to detach from, that we form our identity, or at least a part of our identity, around it. So when it dies, or we can no longer keep it, we feel as though a part of ourselves dies because we're burying it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does. And I'm no super theologian, right? But it's like, you have to die to yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to bury that. Right. And there's so much. I mean, this topic is like, it's just wide with me, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna say this because I really, really want you to get a sense of how I'm thinking about this. Right. It's like one of the hardest seasons for me is Easter. All right. Because, I came from, even though my dad was a cop, right? I was the kid who did probably everything you shouldn't do and just didn't get caught. But I still had to come face to face with God and know that the things that I was doing, I can't do. Right?
Yeah.
Not to go to heaven or anything else like that. It was just wrong.
Right.
That's just how I look at things. It's like, you can't work your way into heaven. So, I'm not trying to do this, right? I'm just trying to be, God, how should I live?
Yeah.
God, direct my path. But if I'm on my own path, God can't do it. So I had to submit to the path that he wanted to put me on. But Easter is so hard for me because all the time I grew up, especially when I came into the fold and they said, Jesus died for our sins. And he died and was buried and was resurrected 2,000 years ago. Why? This is why it's hard for me. Why every year we have to kill him all over again for him to be resurrected?
Right.
Right? Jesus died and was buried once and for all in my book.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that I have to go through the pain of killing him all over again to say he is risen.
Right. Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think
He's risen, rose, and done.
Right. So it should be more, I guess I understand it as being more of or at least Easter.
A tradition, maybe just
Traditional.
carrying a tradition, but
yeah, and then also just like the idea that he triumphed over the grave, or he beat death in some way, shape, or form.
Right. And it's like, but man, we go through a whole bunch to make sure he's dead all over again. And so that's me, y'all. Sorry I had to go there. That was me.
Listen.
But it's like,
let me know what you think. I think there's definitely there's a lot to be said for the tradition of burying things. I think I know for myself, I get so attached to things because I don't feel like, I've struggled with being okay with things. Like as far as, I didn't grow up in a super lavish environment or anything. And so everything we had to share. Right. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not knocking my parents or anybody. But that's a part of what we had to do. We had to share everything.
Right.
As much as we could, because that was part of being in a family. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But that idea that some things about yourself you have to let go of.
Right.
When you feel like you don't have much, sometimes that's difficult. It's easier to part with I guess I assume it's easier to part with things when you feel like you have other stuff in tow. But when you don't, you feel like that's all of you that you're burying. Have you seen a lot of resistance in your clients to burying their dead? What's been something that you've noticed about folks who are stuck or who are having some problems and are trying to deal with this whole idea of burying their dead?
The biggest issue is that because they have, like you said, known it so long, right? Lived it so long, they feel that it is a valid part of them.
Right.
Right. And for some people, they are so attached to their pain, so attached to their trauma, that it's not necessarily burying it that scares them. What scares them is how do they live without it?
Yeah.
Right? It's like so many people find their identity in their pain. That sometimes that pain is the only thing that gets them attention. That person that you come up to and the only thing out of their mouth is how many meds they took and what's wrong with them. And if they didn't have that to talk about, they wouldn't have anything. And so,
that's wild.
So sometimes I'm a threat, right? People send people to me, right? And it's all over them. It's like, I don't know what it is you do, but it won't help. Okay, well, they have already set that stage. It won't help. Why? Because if it does help, then I have to do something different.
And I'm not ready to do anything different.
And I'm not ready to do it.
Today is the day, and now is the time. If you have a good idea, good intentions, and are looking for a way to get audience and to get your great message out to the world, I encourage you to start your very own podcast. You would be surprised the amount of folks who are waiting to hear your content. My name is Kibwe Cooper, and I have been an audio engineer for the past 7 years, and I am offering one-on-one coaching to help you get through the beginning stages of creating your very own podcast. Please reach out to me and let me know how I can help you. My email address is empoweryoupodcast@gmail.com. We offer one-on-one coaching, a live masterclass, and even a 10-module course that will take you through the entire process of creating, producing, and distributing your podcast to your very own listeners. This is a great avenue to connect with your audience and to connect with people who are in need of your voice. Again, reach out to me at empoweryoupodcast@gmail.com and let's get your podcast started today.
And so, it's always a challenge.
Do you think people would rather... Well, first, let me clarify something really quick.
All right.
I know we keep saying bury your dead.
Right.
We are not necessarily talking about humans, okay?
Right.
We're talking about habits, ideas about yourself,
right,
things that you were born into, ways that you used to think, people used to hang out with, habits, philosophies that just... Because at a certain point in your life, I've experienced this, you have to move past everything that you know.
Right.
Everything that you think you know.
Right.
And at that point, you really do feel like you've lost some part of yourself.
Absolutely.
And this can be triggered. So that's the other thing I want. And I'm saying this not because I'm trying to, by any means, hijack what you're talking about, but I need those who are listening to understand that this is an inevitable place you're going to arrive at. And you can either hold on and keep hanging on to something that's no longer serving you, or you can make some kind of transition. I had to bury a lot of my own dead when my mom passed away, and I did that. And I had to confront parts of myself that I was dependent on her to heal with her mothering, heal with her love, heal with her conversation. And I wasn't able to get some of those resolves. That's not her fault.
Right.
But there's aspects of myself I had to allow to die off so that I could actually become who I believe that she would have wanted me to be anyway, who I needed to be. And so at some point in your life, you're going to interact. You're going to slam into something.
Right.
And it's going to require you to bury something of yourself that you really, really loved.
It's especially when you're trying to step into this empowered life.
Yeah.
Right. When you're trying to live intentionally and inspirationally, and it's going to come down to the truth of the experience.
Right.
And see, that's what makes burying a lot easier. See, because we have all been trained to a sense, right? It's hard when you bump heads against something that you have believed was the truth for so long, but your experience tells you absolutely something different. All right. And then it's not just a burying. You got to fight. Somebody's going to get killed before somebody gets buried.
Yeah.
Right?
Ooh, that's a whole word. Somebody's going to get killed before someone gets buried. Something has to die.
Yeah. And it's like before you can move. because you will run into that wall on a regular basis. Every time you think you're moving, that wall, that thing that wasn't buried comes up. I had it happen to me 45 years later from an experience, and it's like, man, it's like, and what you find out, that it wasn't even true. That kid that I just talked about, the one that you told was stupid, right?
Yeah.
And then, 10 years later down the road, he takes his test, finally he's got a genius IQ, but he can't read because somebody told him he was too stupid to read.
Yeah.
That's my story, dog. Right? I'm like,
wow.
Back in the 60s, they didn't test anybody for dyslexia or ADHD. You just took the short yellow bus to school and they didn't teach you how to read because they said you couldn't. Right?
Wow.
And then I find out I'm dyslexic, I'm ADHD in my adult life. But I had a person, who said, don't listen to them. They don't know you. You can read. I can read. And I do better, but I also know the effect of short yellow bus because, kids, right?
Yeah.
You get off that bus, your life is hell, right? So I had that all the way through junior high school. And then I had to perpetrate through high school, right? It was like, okay, I got this IQ that's crazy. I know a lot of stuff people don't know, but I couldn't read it to you to save your life.
Wow.
Right?
All because
words, man.
Wow.
And so 45 years later, this thing comes where it's like, it was about goal setting or something like this.
Yeah.
And I had set some goals and the goals were great. And then later in the course, they said, make the goals bigger. And it was like, oh, and I can't do that. And I ran straight into the wall of this is what affected me, is that whenever I, in my youth, found something that I could call my own, something that I could excel in, something that I believed in, someone bigger than me who didn't understand how much I enjoyed what I was doing took it from me.
Yeah.
It was an undercurrent. Why make something bigger when someone's going to take it from you? Why excel when somebody's going to take it away? I didn't live by it for a long time, but I didn't bury it.
Yeah.
And so whenever I started going deep in my own life, I couldn't get deep enough.
Because you still had that old stuff sitting right there.
I still had that old stuff sitting right there, and I couldn't, it wasn't buried. I didn't have closure with it. I do now.
Yeah.
But man, when I hit that, it was like, that's why I have to have compassion for people when they don't get it. I have to have compassion for people when they come and they go, but I still feel the same. I understand. You've got layers and layers of unburied stuff that's keeping you from moving. But if you want to move, stay on the path. Bury one thing at a time. You didn't get the way you are in one day. Don't expect to change in one day.
That's difficult, man. I think that's hard. That's hard to hear because I know from my own experience, sometimes you have been hurting or carrying something that's been dead for so long, you just want it all to come off.
Yeah.
You're just exhausted. Some of us, have been carrying dead things for so long, we just want it all to stop.
Yeah.
You want that instant, and maybe it's not instant, right? But you want
Right.
to feel that release
Right.
of
So what do you do?
carrying carcasses of old ideas and old, people who were bad to you, traumas that you've had,
Right.
that you have allowed to just not live, but be dead in parts of your house.
Right.
And you just keep moving it. It's like a box you just take with you from place to place to place, and it just gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And eventually you just don't take it out of your car anymore because it's so heavy. So now you're driving everywhere with it. And, and I just think that's the whole idea that you bury one thing at a time. Bury one thing at a time. Heal yourself from one thing at a time.
Yep.
That sounds great. Also sounds thoroughly exhausting. It's just like, I got to go through this entire box all one at a time.
And you know what the rule is? Everywhere you go, there you are. Maybe it's not the stuff.
That's interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's here. It's here. It's in your head. Right? And I don't mean going crazy in your head. But for me, one of the most powerful things in the Bible was don't be conformed to the ways of the world. Be transformed by renewing your mind.
Okay.
Okay. It didn't say be transformed by doing anything else, but and it didn't say be changed, transformed. Okay. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Only changing your mind to the things that are happening in your life will you see something different happen.
Oh, that's good.
And so it's like that, and that's the foundation of why I wrote my book, right? It was because you can read a whole bunch of stuff, but until you change something, nothing happens. And that's the power of transformation, is changing your mind and getting a different perspective on everything. And get a perspective one thing at a time. I mean, we're rushing through this life like I got to get to point B. And, it's like, if it's not promised, enjoy the trip and change some stuff while you're on your way. It's like, and every day it's like to be your best you, man. That's all you can do. Because you can't change nobody else's stuff. And that's part of a lot of people's past, right? Trying to bury somebody else's stuff for them, thinking it's going to change you.
Ooh.
Right? Right.
You said trying to bury other people's stuff. Because you think it's going to change you.
Yeah.
Give me an example of that. I wanna stay on that for a second.
All right. Like parents do it on a regular basis because parents want the best for their kids, right? And they will go as far as not just influencing, but manipulating the child's life, even as an adult. Well, is she good enough for you? Is he good enough for you? Why are you doing it that way? I taught you this way. And when there is so much expectation for you to be a certain way, and that parent can't be happy until you're doing it their way, until they seeing it. You know, I have people who are so involved in their adult children's life that they can't function when they don't think their adult child is doing the right thing. Or if their kid does something wrong, you know, they're off to another country. I had one lady left here, went to New York because her daughter was dating a guy that wasn't Indian. And she wanted to meet this guy and interject the fact face to face that you need an Indian boyfriend. You can't have an American man as your husband. It doesn't work that way in our culture. The only way, and her words exactly, the only way she will understand it is if I tell her face to face. So I have to move to New York. Move to New York. And see, that is someone,
Wow.
that is someone who cannot, she's trying to bury
something inside of her.
and something inside of her.
Through her daughter.
Right. And so it's like, no, man, it ain't real. You won't be able to do it because it's not yours. And yeah, so that's so what do I get to do, man? I get to love and have a whole bunch of patience and have a whole bunch of compassion for people burying, because we're human. We are just human, and everybody's got something.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, it's horrible.
So you
it's a tough thing.
You said that you had to bury this idea that you weren't intelligent, that you weren't. I may be interjecting or putting words in your mouth. You let me know. But I feel like when it comes to things like that, you know, that goes to worthiness. Like, you feel like because people have always told me I'm stupid, I'm not worthy to be happy or worthy to be successful or
Right.
worthy to succeed in life or to grow, you know, based off of some one person or maybe a bunch of people's interpretation of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that you had to eventually bury that. How did you bury this idea that you had about yourself that you know was holding you back, but then that also had been reinforced by the trauma and the things that you had gone through in your life? How did you bury that?
Yeah. Like I said, it was just not long ago when I found out something wasn't buried. Right. So I stay on my path. And that sounds like a quick, easy answer, but it's like, okay, I know what I do.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm not getting in somebody else's lane or somebody else's path and trying to, you know, inflect my intelligence on their path. All right.
Yeah.
I'm staying where I know what I know. All right. Now, as far as burying the stuff, I'm a new creation. And some things I like to take just where they are. When God tells me I'm good enough, that's all that matters. I'm good enough. What you said in the past didn't make me who I am today. How I reacted to those things in the past, I don't have to react like that today,
Right.
because I know a truth that's better than where I was. So until I bump into something, you know, that I have to contemplate, you know, is that something that needed to be buried? I mean, it's, if you dig deep enough in the earth, you're always going to find a rock, right? You're always going to find a hard spot. And so I figure as long as I keep digging in myself, to find things that need to be ejected, then I'm doing a good thing. So there's always a process of self-reflection, of digging in me
intentionally to find it. Yeah.
Right, and if
not
it
just
doesn't
letting it
serve
run
me,
into you.
yeah, and in the process, you just find a better you. The soil gets richer from all the digging, and I can put in my dirt whatever I want to.
Yeah.
It's my dirt. It's my stuff. It's my life. I choose everything in my life.
Wow.
I've given myself permission to choose everything in my life. If it doesn't serve me, why do I have to take it? And you don't have to convince me.
Why do you have to carry it?
Right?
Yeah.
And so, that's the power of that C word, that choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you feel like, part of burying your dead is intentionally, figuring out what is dead, figuring out what smells, figuring out what the issue is.
Right.
And deciding that you're not going to let it stay there.
Right.
And you're going to put something else in its place. Because when you talk about I can dig as much as I want because I'm deciding what goes where. And I think that's very powerful. I mean, I guess in my head, I'm thinking, when you're burying your dead, that's also an opportunity to plant something new.
Right.
You already got a hole there.
Exactly.
Now is an opportunity to put something new where your pain was, to put something new where your trauma was, to put something that actually serves you. But you got to dig the hole.
Right.
To get rid of it.
You got to pluck out you're not good enough and replant. And I don't know, where I heard it, but it was like when you pluck something out and there's a hole there, you've got a choice about what you can put there. And it's like, if you had a choice, why would you choose bad?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you reach out to someone or something that empowers you?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I want in my life? I want a Kibwe in my life. Right? A brother who's doing things, right? And believes in himself, and he's a good dude. That's a good enough thing to put in my garden.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna put that relationship in my garden and watch it grow the way it grows.
Yeah.
But I'm not good enough.
Right. And it doesn't happen on accident either.
Right.
You have to be intentional about what you put in that spot.
Exactly. So, it's like I wake up and what goes here? And I don't have to move nothing, man.
That's awesome, man. I'm trying to get to that point, man. I've had to bury some ideas I've had about myself. Some different things, even just in 2021 and 2020, 2021, I've run into some things that I've had to shift the way that I think about myself.
Right.
Especially, in March, I had a whole incident. I ended up getting an OWI.
Oh.
And, all because there were some things in my life that that needed to be buried. And it's difficult because you do attach parts of your personality to them. You have long-standing memories and or experiences with this thing that is now dead.
Right.
And whether it's like long-standing grief, whether it is something that you just can't get over, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea is that not letting go of that just makes you sick. It
Right.
doesn't make the other person sick.
Not at all, especially when it comes
doesn't
down to
make
other people.
it doesn't make the other
Yeah.
person sick. It doesn't change the situation. It just makes you sick.
Yep.
And as a result, you have problems.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I had to, and I'm
Yeah,
still
I
doing
know.
that.
I know.
I'm burying things that I thought I needed to live. I'm burying things that I thought I needed to in order for Kid Boy to be Kid Boy, because I'm realizing
Right.
none of that makes you.
Right.
None of it does. The
Right.
only thing that makes me is what I decide I'm going to put in the soil afterwards.
Right.
That is what creates, the abundance.
Right.
But that only happens after the burial.
Right.
It only
Right.
happens after the digging,
Right.
after the burial.
But it's and when I think of buried stuff, I always have to put it in the past tense.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason I like to put it in the past tense is because when it's the past, it will never be what it was before. You cannot live the past over.
Mm.
Not in the least. Nothing 10 minutes ago can be again what it was then.
Yeah.
In any kind of way. So that stuff that's buried, that past, it has no power unless you give it power.
Mm. Mm.
Right? Because it cannot be
what it was anyway.
What it was
when it matters.
Anyway, does it matter? It cannot be again. Now, you may go back and recreate aspects of that past and pay a consequence again, but it's still going to be different from what happened the first time you did it.
Yeah.
But what happened in the past can't happen again. So if I was an idiot 30 years ago, doesn't mean I have to keep looking back and kill myself again like I did 30 years ago, right? That's that Jesus thing for me again. That's why I have that problem at Easter. Right?
Yeah.
What I did 30 years ago, and I judged myself, I was crazy, I did this, that, and the other. That's not me. You can't judge me by it, and I can't judge me by it.
Yeah, because it's
I
over.
can let you judge me by it.
Mm.
If you keep digging up my dead past and trying to make me be that, but I don't have to be. That dead past cannot happen. So you don't do it.
Yeah.
And you don't relive it. I don't. Let me put it like that. All right. If it's past, look, dude, 10 minutes ago, everything we said became past. And we can't even take it back. The only thing we can do is play back the recording and hear it. But it's not the same thing now. And so I take these truth concepts and make them real. I cannot change anything that happened yesterday.
That's very interesting that you say, you can't. Nothing from the past has the power to be anything unless you give it to it. Unless you give it that power, the experiences that we have from our past,
Mm-hmm.
we hold on to them so tight because we attach that to our identity.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't necessarily have to. I guess, just because they are your memories doesn't mean that they have to be that's sacred to you. It's just something that happened, and other things can happen that are
Right.
better than that if you put yourself in a position for that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. What? Here's a question I'd like to ask. What future do you want to make your past?
What future do you want to make your past?
See,
Oh wow, that's a really good question.
see, if you're always thinking forward, right? You're always expressing your direction towards a goal, towards
Mhm.
a place to be.
Mhm.
All right? Because when you get there and you go past it, it's your past and you can't make it happen. So what do you really, really want to happen in your life? You have to see it like a vision and go for it. Because, well, as you know, I'm living a vision today, right? We are
Yeah.
sitting in a vision, right?
Yeah.
You see it on my board, all right? We are sitting in a vision. But I couldn't have got there if I hadn't looked for it.
Yeah.
See? And so we had a conversation yesterday. All right? Not the same one today, but we're still sitting in my vision.
Yeah.
So, what do you want to make a past? So, what future do you want to turn into a past? It's a deep question.
It is, because you get to decide. You get to choose.
You get to choose the steps, every step along the way, because I mean, and no stepping backwards, because anything behind you won't matter anyway. So you keep moving forward and you keep stepping and you keep looking for the signs. And if you don't see the sign, just keep moving. Signs coming. And you got to trust the process. You know, and I'm old. So I've got a lot of practice now trusting the process. And the beauty of what I feel I want to do now is to be an influencer in my age. I mean, you know, people say, you ain't old. Well, I'm kind of am. All right. I'm older than most statistics.
Right.
Right. And the people in my life, the people that give me my youth in transference are young people, because the future that I see is me helping people now move towards their future while they're young. You don't have to go through the young and dumb phase.
Mm.
Right? That's my story. You don't have to do it. If you can slow down just a minute to hear that you don't have to do it. You can choose to do something better now. You can look at your future and make it happen now. That's what you can do. That's what young people can do. While your body doesn't hurt, while you're, you know, while you're old enough to be on your own, and you're old enough to make choices for yourself, and you can choose good. You can choose different.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Stop complaining about what you're getting if you're doing the same thing that you've been doing.
Absolutely.
Do something different and do it better. If you had the choice, why choose bad? Right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, even though you don't see it all the time, right? When I see you, I see right?
Right.
Because you're young and doing it now. You know, when I was your age, looking back at this past person, I wasn't nowhere near thinking about empower what, right? I was nowhere near thinking that. And it's like, you don't see how powerful that is. Because I know people your age who are stuck in this position and nothing going on in their life. Nothing. You talk about stuff to bury. What makes them so unworthy of living that all they want to do is sit on the couch and play a game? 30 and 40-year-old men doing nothing but gaming. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with gaming. And some people are making a hell of a living out of gaming, you know.
But most of them aren't.
But most of them aren't. And ask them what they're doing next, and they go, I don't know. Ask them where they're working. I don't know. Work? I thought mom was. So there's a lot of other choices that people could be making. There's a lot of other choices you could have made, but you have chosen to get on this path and not just help yourself, but help others. So don't doubt your path.
Right.
Right? Just be on it.
Just be on it. Don't doubt your path. Just be on it. Man, that's good.
Right? And so I love young people. I love people doing things. I love young people doing things. I love young people thinking freely, thinking past the confines of everything that they've been taught.
Yeah.
Because everything you've been taught ain't right. I'm going to tell you.
Oof.
It ain't.
And it may not it's just not applicable. It may not serve you.
Exactly.
You know, that's one of the things I've run into. You know, I think sometimes you just gotta decipher what's gonna actually work. Some stuff is just not.
Yeah.
That's just not. It's not gonna work.
Sometimes
that's
you
not,
have to renew your mind.
Ooh, that renewing your mind. I never really thought about that scripture like that before.
Right. And see, I think back, okay, you know, I don't know how to age the Bible, but when that was written, they didn't have half of what we have right now.
Yeah.
So the only thing that can be renewed is our mind.
Right. So they were deeply dwelling in that mind-body space.
Right.
Which we now call woo-woo or whatever, holistic or energy work. Before that was all there was.
Right. Right. And it's like truth. You know? I just believe in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Well, listen. I'm going to ask you for one more thing. You've already shared so much with us, and it's been absolutely amazing sitting down and talking with you, man.
Yeah, always, bro.
I'm going to ask you in just a second for a thought exercise. I'm going to do a quick ad for myself, and then we're going to do a thought exercise, and then we'll wrap up, okay?
All right, that's cool.
All right.
That's cool.
To anybody who's just now tuning in, this is Empower You Podcast. My name is Kid Boy Cooper, and I want you to be a part of Empower You Podcast. I want you to subscribe, like, and share this with somebody who you're thinking about. And if you're not thinking about anyone, just share it in general. It's really important that we disperse really great information, and I really want you to become a part of the Empower You Podcast tribe, a part of our family of people, of individuals who are really doing as much work as we can to break cycles and to push past barriers that we have developed or inherited in a variety of different situations. We are devoted to bringing real world wisdom and encouragement to all of you, listeners, likes, subscribers, fans, friends, supporters. And we do so by talking about a variety of topics and life principles, including the process from several perspectives, which would be societal, economic, and cultural perspectives. And that's how we dive into these topics and we unpack what we need to in order to shed some clarity and demystify the process of success and or betterment and or self-development. So
Right.
go ahead and subscribe, download this episode, and I would love to keep in contact with you. So send me a note, write a comment if you really are enjoying this, and I will see you in another episode. So Semaj,
Yeah.
thought exercise, what you got for us?
All right. I got something for you. So this thought exercise is about the beginning of the healing process. It's from the Hawaiian culture, and it's called Ho'oponopono. It is a forgiveness exercise that because that's where a lot of healing begins. And what I do with my clients is when we tap into the fact that there's a lot of forgiveness that people have to do, but you can't do it with the person that needs to be forgiven or have that person forgive you. And in this culture, and you can read all about it. If it's Ho Opono Opono Pono Pono, and go read about it. Google it. It's very powerful exercise. But what I have my clients do is just to sit back, take a couple deep breaths, and reflect on who needs forgiveness, whether it's you or whether it's another person. And it's a 4-phrase process. And the power in it is when you say the first part of the phrase, the first phrase is, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And as you're going through this process and you're thinking about people in your life that forgiveness or there was pain, and if you caused pain in someone's life and it comes to you in this relaxation, you just say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And you just continue. It's like a mantra in a relaxation stage. And what generally happens, and usually in my sessions, they're either on my table or we've been, through this process, and they're reflecting, and I will have you tap on your heart and say it. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Those 4 phrases people don't hear. They don't hear it from other people, especially now. Nobody cares. But the most powerful one, if you can tap on your heart, look in the mirror, and say the phrase, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. The hardest person to forgive is yourself. For all the choices that you've made in your life that you think you have to pay for, tell yourself, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Because you're the hardest person to love for yourself.
Wow.
Do that process. Do it twice a day. Once in the morning, once in the evening. Forgive those around you. Forgive yourself. And let the weight, remember that energy that we started talking about?
Yeah.
The energy of unforgiveness falls off your body. And it gives you peace. That's what I have to offer today.
That is phenomenal. Wow, man.
Yeah.
That I'm gonna practice that. That is
Yep.
really, that's great.
Yep.
Thank you so much for sitting down with us and having some conversation
Right.
about burying the dead. We got to get past it, y'all, so that we can really arrive into a better state of being where we can be healed and forgive
Yeah.
ourselves and have space to really expand into what we need to be. So thank you
Yeah.
so much, man.
My
I
pleasure,
really
bro.
appreciate you.
My pleasure.
We will be back with more episodes of Empower You Podcast. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. How can we find you?
Yeah. So my website is uncommonhealing.com, and there you can find everything out about my business, which is MBS Balancing System, and we're growing. And I told you, the beginning of the year, everything is about expansion for 2021.
Yeah.
Despite what COVID says, everything's about growing. Expand your mind, expand your intuition, expand everything about yourself. And MBS is expanding. We just moved to a new location, and I am opening a tranquil garden in my home. Got a couple things that need to be done, but hopefully,
Oh man, it looks amazing.
find me on Facebook, under
amazing.
MBS Balancing System.
Okay.
And, things are happening, bro.
That's awesome.
You just got to believe it.
That's awesome. Well, listen, y'all go to MBS Balancing System and say hello, say thank you, and practice that thought exercise of forgiving yourself, forgiving those around you, and you'll have more space in your life to be that much better and that much more full and abundant. Don't forget to like, subscribe, go to MBS Balancing, and check out what Semaj is doing. It's really quite inspiring. You guys are going to have to come check out this tranquil garden that he is building. It is absolutely amazing. We will be back to do more filming and interviewing here in his facility. It's really, really dope. So we will talk to you guys a little bit later, but until then, peace. Empower You Podcast is devoted to bringing real-world wisdom and encouragement to our listeners. We discuss a multitude of life principles and the process from an economic, cultural, and societal perspective. We believe that through tough conversations and shared wisdom, we can pave the path and leave a ladder for the future. Subscribe to our channel and let us empower you.